child, I was always part of, comedy and musical theater.
Okay, okay, yeah, because you could do like a real serious role, but you could be very funny. So my first introduction to you was I'm gonna get you sucker. I was a
Yeah.
little kid, but I had older brothers and my father. It was a house full of
How
men.
did they let you in the theater?
Well, I didn't go to the theater to see it, but I remember them watching it on the VHS. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying, at the
Right.
house. So if you could talk about that a little bit, how did you even connect with
Okay,
the
that's
Wayans and?
it's a very funny story, or I
Hmm.
think it's kind of, and I think Keenan thinks it's a funny story. So we all met during Hollywood Shuffle. Okay, so when we did Robert Townsend and Keenan Ivory, that was their project, Hollywood Shuffle, and
Wow.
that was a gem. I mean, that catapulted many of us into larger careers. We never knew at the time that that was really going to be our signature film. And from Hollywood Shuffle, we did the Hollywood Shuffle comedy episodes for HBO. The So we did a series of comedic hours for HBO, the Hollywood Shuffle specials and stuff like that. And Keenan and Robert went their separate ways to do different projects. And Keenan called me and he said, "Listen, there's a movie, I want to send you the script, but there's a role that I'd love for you to do." And the role is called Cherry. The name of the role is Cherry. So I read the script and I was so disappointed because I wanted to play the Don Lewis role, which was the girlfriend of of Keenan's character, because I just thought, oh no, I should play the girlfriend. It's a Cherry only has a few scenes. And so I said no. And Keenan called me and he said, "Now listen, I think you can really bring something to this role. And, let's just have fun like we did." So I completely, changed my ego because that's what got in the way, my ego. And we brought Cherry alive, and I think that is probably my most recognizable comedic role because it not that I ever thought it would be, but it is really iconic in the lexicon of African American films, comedy films. Cherry will live on forever.
Yes, indeed, man. You did your thing with that one. I was just watching it again. You know, it's still funny. Like, some stuff you watch it be old, but man, it was refreshing to see that.
It still has the whole movie still has legs, just like
Yes.
Hollywood Shuffle.
Uh-huh.
Hollywood Shuffle has wonderful legs. It's still very topical in different ways, right? So Robert and Keenan were way ahead of their time. Those films are aging quite well.
Yes, definitely. Hollywood Shuffle, man. Let me see. Okay, now I gotta ask you about Strictly Business.
Yeah.
What was that like? Doing that, those Holly Berry was in there, Tommy Davidson was in there. You done worked with some icons.
Well, that was how I think that could have been Hallie's first feature. She was very, very new to the business, and Kim, Kim Coles. Uh, I had There was some controversy. We had one director, and then the director was fired, and then they brought it. So there was some background, machinations going on, but that was a blast. We shot that in New York. I was doing In the Heat of the Night at the same time, so I was taking a car or flying back and forth to New York.
Wow.
I think, yeah, it was all going on at the same time, and I had so much fun. That character really was. I do that type of character. That's kind of like my thing, the uppity black woman. But I enjoy it when it's done well, and when it's written well, and that was really written well. That was a lot of fun working with um, Philip and Tommy and Kim and Hallie, and it was a lot of fun, that role.
Yeah, that definitely was a classic for sure. Now I can ask you about do you doing film, you doing TV? Do you have a preference? Do you prefer one over the other? What are the differences?
No, I really love television. Um, if someone said, okay, this is going to be the last series you're going to do, in the span of time, what type of series would you like to do? I think I'd like to do a multi-camera sitcom. I miss
Wow.
doing, um, you know, what's happening now was probably, series-wise, was probably the most fun I've ever had as on a series. First of all, it was funny. Ernie was is probably the funniest person I've ever worked for outside of Raven Simone, who is without question the funniest actor I've ever worked with. But Ernie was wonderful. The whole cast was wonderful. It was that was a lot of fun. So I think if I had my druthers, I would do multi-camera because you have a live audience, you're feeding off the audience. It's the closest thing you can get to doing theater. They don't do a lot of multi-cameras any longer because the quality of actors are not the younger actors are not trained in doing multi-camera because when you do multi-camera, you have to be able to change on a dime. Be very comfortable
Wow.
in front of an audience, be very comfortable changing lines right away. And it's really an art, and they're not training young actors to do that any longer. What younger actors are very good at now are single camera projects where there is no live audience, where you have the time to create a character and take your time, and there's the pressure of having a live audience is not there, and it's only single camera, so you don't have to get used to, I mean, Desi Arnaz created the multi-camera format and back in the 50s, and you really have to be hyper aware of where the cameras are, and it's really quite difficult. It's a ballet, and they don't train actors to do that any longer. It's a lost art.
Wow, wow. You made some major points because I could remember like or even watching reruns or like maybe like say like Good Times or Sanford and Son. You hear the people
Sure.
they clapping in the beginning or laughing at something
That's
happening,
right,
but
right. Yeah,
they don't do
yes,
that no
because
more.
back then, you would do 2 shows. You would do 2 shows, 2 takes of the same episode. So you would have a lunch shooting, and you'd have a different type of audience, and they'd bring the audience in, and you would do it in the late afternoon. And then during your dinner break, the writers would provide you a whole bunch of new jokes and a whole bunch of new action. And then you would do your dinner taping. And then it would be a brand new audience with a different vibe. And then in editing, they would put it together. And
Wow.
it really was fantastic. And the level of pressure was high. And it was I loved it. Loved that pressure.